Why is the water on Mars considered the most terrifying virus in the universe? Because it's insanely infectious. Even the tiniest droplet can infect any living organism on contact, turning them instantly into a puppet, controlled by the water itself. What makes it even more horrifying is that it's nearly impossible to eliminate. It can generate more and more water endlessly, spreading like wildfire and lurking everywhere. A man simply took a bite of a freshly washed carrot, and the next second, he dropped to his knees, trembling violently. By the time his teammate Maggie realized something was wrong, he had already become one of the water's parasitic hosts, but the doctor had no idea this had happened. Now alone, with no travel companion, he arrives at a Mars base. But as soon as he learns the current date, November 21st, 2059, his entire demeanor changes. He suddenly wants to leave, refusing to stay any longer. Because according to the fixed timeline, this base is destined to suffer a nuclear explosion today. No one will survive. No one knows why it happens. The doctor knows full well that events locked into the timeline are not his to change. Trying to interfere could even make things worse. But just as he's about to leave, a strange screech blares out through the radio system. Immediately, he pulls up the external surveillance feed. Lights are going out inside the biodome. And since the doctor arrived just before all this chaos began, Adelaide, the base commander, makes him her #1 suspect. She orders his protective suit confiscated and forbids him from leaving the base. The doctor has no way to prove his innocence and is forced to join Adelaide to investigate the biodome. Before long, they find Maggie unconscious in one of the corridors. The medical officer checks and confirms she's still breathing, with only minor head trauma. Adelaide orders her team to get Maggie back to the medical bay. Under the nurse's careful attention, Maggie soon wakes up, with a calm smile, saying she's perfectly fine. But the nurse insists on keeping her in isolation for 24 hours, just to follow protocol. Maggie's expression suddenly darkens. The nurse doesn't notice and continues reviewing surveillance footage. But moments later, Maggie's body starts to shake uncontrollably, and she starts speaking in strange, cryptic phrases. Now the nurse realizes something's off. He turns around and is instantly struck with sheer terror. He contacts Adelaide right away, reporting Maggie's terrifying condition. Her lips have split open, and she's spewing water non-stop. She's no longer acting like a human being. Adelaide is stunned and finds it hard to believe. But on the way back with the doctor, they witness something chilling. The medical officer is being violently held down by the man, and in mere seconds, he too transforms into one of the infected. The doctor knows this has gone from bad to worse and warns Adelaide it's time to run. With the parasitic puppets in pursuit, the two barely manage to escape into a sealed chamber, dodging a high-pressure water blast just in time. Taking advantage of the moment, Adelaide gives the order. Shut down all pipes and water outlets. No one is allowed to drink even a single drop. But just then, the infected medical officer spits out a bubble of water at the chamber door. Somehow, it causes the control system to short-circuit. The doctor and Adelaide are forced to flee again. Soon, the airtight doors are breached, and the infected creatures are hot on their trail. While running, the doctor spots a service robot ahead. Thinking quickly, he hacks and modifies it, upgrading its sluggish 3 km/h crawl into a blazing flamethrower mode. Even with 4 legs, the infected hosts can't keep up. In no time, the doctor and Adelaide make it safely into another chamber. This time, the door is reinforced with a Hardinger lock, making it much harder to break through than the last one. Adelaide finally felt a wave of relief. She brought the doctor back to the medical bay. The doctor tried speaking to Maggie using ancient Martian. Surprisingly, she seemed to understand. Her eyes gradually cleared up, but that was it. There was no real communication. Realizing the danger wasn't over, Adelaide gave the evacuation order. Everyone at the base quickly sprang into action, preparing the ship for their return to Earth, but the doctor looked deeply concerned. He knew just how smart the water on Mars truly was. The fact that Maggie only transformed after returning to the medical bay meant one terrifying thing. Any crew member could already be infected. They might just be in the incubation phase. And if even a single infected person made it back to Earth, even a single drop of that water, it could spell the end of humanity. Still, Adelaide refused to leave anyone behind. She pointed out that the base's water came from the Martian ice fields, and if they could figure out when the contamination occurred, they might not have to live in fear and suspicion. With that, she headed straight toward the water source. The doctor hesitated. He knew he shouldn't interfere. But walking away like this, that's not who he was. Torn, He chased after Adelaide and followed her into the chamber where the ice fields were stored. There, he subtly hinted that some moments in time are fixed. No matter what you do, they cannot be changed. And this, right now, was one of those moments. Whatever's meant to happen will happen. Suddenly, a beeping sound interrupted them. The computer had finished its analysis. The maintenance logs revealed that just last night, a crew member discovered chlorine damage in the biodome. But the replacement parts didn't fit, so the repairs were never made. That's how the virus got in. But here's the twist. The water in the biodome takes an entire week to cycle through the base, meaning no one else could have been exposed yet. The ship could safely launch at any time. Back at the main chamber, Adelaide handed the doctor his protective suit. From this point on, everyone was free to escape on their own. But as the doctor watched the busy crew members, there wasn't a hint of relief on his face. Because he knew the truth, this was all pointless. Everyone in this base was destined to die, and the infected weren't done. They had silently crawled onto the roof and were now blasting jets of water onto the main chamber, trying to force their way in. The crew, hearing the eerie sounds above, began to panic. The doctor stood there, sadness and helplessness washing over him, haunted by the memory of that news broadcast. The destruction of the Mars base. Maybe leaving really was the best choice. But then Adelaide suddenly changed her mind and sealed the chamber shut. The doctor took a deep breath, and finally he told her what was supposed to happen. You were meant to initiate Protocol 1 and leave the planet. But for some unknown reason, you changed your mind and activated Protocol 5. You blew up the entire base.
Why won't you help, Doctor, if you know all of this? Why can't you change it?
I can't.
Why can't you find a way?
I swear I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I do. Most times I can save someone. Or anyone. But not you. You wondered all your life why that Dalek spared you. I think it knew.
Shocked by the truth, Adelaide cursed under her breath, then unlocked the door, letting the doctor go. But things were already spiraling out of control. As the crew tried to evacuate, the water had finally broken in. One of the senior pilots got trapped inside. After a rushed video goodbye to her daughter, she too became a host. The youngest crew member, taken out by a single drop of water falling from the ceiling. Meanwhile, Maggie had found the co-captain, Adelaide's second-in-command, trying to launch the ship. He slammed the door shut just in time, but it was too late. He was already infected. To prevent the parasite from using the ship to reach Earth, he made a heartbreaking decision. He activated the ship's self-destruct. The explosion sent a powerful shockwave ripping through the base, flinging the doctor off his feet. He stared at the wreckage. He could hear the crew's desperate screams from inside. And then he remembered his own words.
I'm not just a Time Lord. I'm the last of the Time Lords. They'll never come back. Not now. I'm not a TARDIS. Same old life, last of the Time Lords.
And they died, took it all with them. The walls of reality closed, the worlds were sealed.
Gone forever.
And the Time Lords kept their island, and it's gone.
But they died, the Time Lords. All of them, they died.
I'm the last of the Time Lords.
The kind-hearted doctor couldn't just walk away, so he turned back. Like a savior, he returned to the crumbling base, taking command and guiding the crew to reinforce the chambers. This time, he wouldn't run. He was ready to defy the sacred laws of time itself. He would save them, even if it meant breaking everything he believed in. Someone had once prophesied his death, said he would die when he heard 4 knocks. But the doctor didn't believe he'd die here, because he hadn't heard those 4 knocks yet. Suddenly, one of the infected appeared outside the door. It knocked once, twice, 3 times, but before it could hit the 4th, the doctor blasted it back with a surge of electricity. Then boom, the environmental system exploded, even damaging the doctor's helmet. It was as if time itself was trying to stop him from rewriting history. But this time, the doctor refused to lose. He found the robot he had modified earlier and placed the TARDIS key into its hand. If it could reach the TARDIS, everyone could be saved. Adelaide, though, had lost hope. She quietly activated the base's nuclear self-destruct sequence. No matter what happened next, she was ready to disappear with the water. But the doctor wasn't giving up. The robot rushed to the TARDIS and slid the key into the lock. Under the doctor's control, it successfully entered and activated the TARDIS. As that familiar whirring sound echoed through the base, a glow of hope lit up everyone's faces. At the very last second, just before the base exploded, they escaped. In the blink of an eye, they were back on Earth. The doctor had done it again. He had defied the laws of time and won. But ironically, the female crew member he'd saved didn't rejoice. She looked at him, terrified of his power, and ran off without even saying thank you. Adelaide gave the nurse a signal to follow and check on her. Then she turned to the doctor. He was confused. What he had just done, changing a fixed moment in time, could rewrite all of human history. No one should have that kind of power. But the doctor was full of pride. He believed he could control the rules of time, that he could fix all the sad endings. He didn't want to argue. He opened the door for Adelaide and said nothing more. It was then that Adelaide finally saw how dangerous he truly was. At first, she had begged him for help, desperate to survive with her crew. But now, she had come to accept her fate. She firmly believed that history should not be tampered with. She took out her pistol, stepped into her home, and slowly closed the door behind her. In the end, Adelaide took her own life, choosing to let her story end where it was meant to preserve the course of human history. Whether it was fate, the laws of time, or her final act of defiance against the doctor, what had to happen, happened. The doctor couldn't bear to watch people walk into their inevitable ends, so he fought fate itself, desperately, madly. But just as he thought he had conquered time, time laughed in his face. In a daze, the doctor saw the one who had once prophesied his death. Then, without warning, that figure vanished. Terrified, the doctor fled back to the TARDIS. He stood at the control panel, blank-faced as the echo of bells rang in his ears. He wasn't afraid of death, he just didn't want to die alone.